Hi guys, this is Miss Anderson, and we are back for video number 2 in our writing workshop series on proofreading, revising, and editing. And so this is video number 2 for writing sentences, okay? So that means that if you have not watched video number 1, please go back and watch that video because we did some exercises in our PDF, okay? And so that will catch you up to where we are now. All right. On the screen, I also have the link for you to get a copy of the PDF that you can use to follow along with us in this tutorial. And let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to bring up our PDF that we are using. And we stopped off, we completed the exercises 1 through 10 and then 11 through 20. And we are learning more about sentence fragments, okay? And so this is so understanding how sentences are structured helps us to write, and more importantly, helps us to revise and check and look for those errors, okay? All right, let's go. So I'm starting here with sentence fragments, okay? Sentence fragments also occur when a subordinating conjunction like, and I'm not going to read all of those, you can read all of those, precedes an independent clause. So it's easier for me to give you an example, okay? So let's look at that, okay? Here's an example. Until the players began stretching, and then there's a period. This sentence fragment can be remedied by either eliminating the conjunction or by adding a clause to the fragment to form a complete thought. Because remember, when you are writing, your objective for every sentence is to have a complete thought. Whatever that thought is, it needs to be complete. Okay, so in order to revise this, we can say, we can eliminate the conjunction. The conjunction in this sentence is until, okay? So if we take that out, the players began stretching. That's a complete thought. It has a subject and it has a predicate. If you take out, okay, that conjunction, then the sentence is okay. Another way you can revise that sentence is you can add more to it, okay, to make it a complete thought. Until the players began stretching, they had many pulled muscles, okay? They had many pulled muscles is an independent clause, and then until the players began stretching is a dependent clause because it is depending on this one in order to make it a complete sentence, okay? And now a little bit of writing or a writing tip for you is when you are writing, you want to also try to make your sentences have dependent and independent clauses. You don't want to only just write in simple sentences. That's a little bit boring. And you don't read in simple sentences either, okay? And a little later in this lesson, we're going to talk about how to make your sentences complex, okay? All right, let's continue on. Coordinating conjunctions like and, but, or, nor, and for are often a quick fix for both sentence fragments and run-on sentences. Often, not all the time, but often. For example, the newspaper and a loaf of bread on your way home. Okay, that's a sentence fragment. Pick up the newspaper and a loaf of bread on your way home. Okay, pick up. All right, and then the subject is you. So this is second person. You pick up a newspaper and a loaf of bread on your way home. Or Billy, pick up a newspaper and a loaf of bread on your way home. All right, here we go. Another activity for you. Exercise number 3. Proofread and revise the following sentences and then add the proper punctuation. Please don't forget the punctuation. Write the revised sentences on the lines provided. Answers can be found at the end of the lesson, okay? So please make sure that you're not going to the answers before you have tried to do it because that's the learning process. You can't skip the learning processes, ladies and gentlemen. All right, after we saw the movie, we went to the cafe and discussed it. Okay, discussed it. Ooh, discussed it. Okay, sounds like disgusted. Yeah, that's yeah. Sorry, words can, anyway, sorry. After we saw the movie, okay, we know that's similar to the fragment that we saw before. Okay, so what if we were to add a conjunction? What if we were to say, we saw a movie, then we went to the cafe and discussed it. I don't like that. Disgusted. That's bothering me. Okay. So we saw a movie. We added a conjunction. Okay. And the proper punctuation. We saw a movie. Then we went to the cafe and discussed it. I'm going to change that discuss to we saw a movie, then we went to a cafe and talked about it. Okay. Sounds better than discussed it. Something that's just not, I'm not feeling that. We saw a movie, then we went to the cafe and talked about it. We saw a movie, then we went to the cafe and talked about it. Okay. So it should flow off of your tongue and you should not have any problems with it. After we saw the movie, that punctuation was your cue, was your flag. We went to the cafe and discussed it. That was a complete sentence, but it needed this one. Okay. So this was your dependent clause and this was your independent clause. So all we needed was correct punctuation and a coordinating conjunction. Okay. Coordinating and subordinating, those are some high level terms. Okay. I only use those with my advanced students. Okay. But what you want to know now to revise or to understand these sentences is the word conjunctions and what conjunctions do. Conjunctions are a part of speech that connects sentences, connects words, okay? And, but, nor are the three common ones. And what do? They join, okay? All right, guys. So looks like we have exercises. So exercise 3 are sentences 21, 28, 30, okay, to 30. So it looks like each activity has 10 questions. So go up to number 30 and then I'll meet you back. All right, have fun. Okay, and we are back to exercise 4, okay? Exercise 4 says proofread and revise the following sentence fragments so that they form complete sentences. And then write the revised sentences on the lines provided, okay? So one of the tricks I want you to use, okay, is to try to understand what is missing or what is needed, okay? So let's take a look at this first example, all right? So while the taxi driver drove faster. So that's a sentence fragment because drove faster than what? You know what I mean? So that means that this is a dependent clause and it needs an independent clause, okay? So when I went to the back of the book, I found the independent clause, we held on, okay? So I'm just going to add a comma right there and then we held on. Okay, and I'm going to make that a little bit closer. That's almost perfect. Okay. While the taxi driver drove faster, we held on. So we held on is an independent clause. Even though it's 3 words, it's still a subject and a predicate. Okay. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So this independent clause, okay, now we know that this dependent clause just needed an independent clause. So try to figure out what's missing And that way you can understand what needs revising. For example, 32. My daughter, after she wrote a letter. Okay, well, where's the action? Okay. My daughter, I'm going to start over here, smiled after she wrote the letter. Okay. DAU, that's going back and editing. Okay, see how I did that automatically? And that's because of a wonderful teacher that taught me the power of revising. Okay, and you will do it too. I promise you, you will do it so well that you will forget who taught you. You will just be appreciative that you learned the skill of revising. All right, so it was missing a predicate. It was missing a verb, an action. My daughter smiled after she wrote the letter. Okay. All right. So go ahead and do the rest of them up to number 40. I'm going to pause it. When we come back, we'll start with run-on sentences. Okay. So right now we're working on fragmented sentences, sentences that have a fragment or something's missing. Okay. Then we're going to move on to run-on sentences. All right, guys, have fun. Okay, so let's continue. And so now we're going to take a look at run-on sentences, okay? Run-on sentences, those sentences that just go on and on and on and on and on, and they never stop, okay? So remember, a sentence is just one thought, okay? So a sentence can't be talking about 5 different things, all right? It can only talk about one thing at a time before you start a new sentence. So an essay can talk about 15 different things. That's totally fine. But one sentence can only have one thought, okay? All right, run-on sentences. Run-on sentences are like the person at the all-you-can-eat buffet who overfills a plate when he or she could have simply gone back for a second helping. Oh, man, you had to go to the fat joke, huh? Okay, so that's interesting. Now, hopefully you've all been to a buffet. A buffet is an all-you-can-eat restaurant. The ones here in the Atlanta area that we still have left is the Golden Corral, okay? And so I personally love the Golden Corral. And so this is post-pandemic. This video is post-pandemic. And so I've only been there once since the pandemic started. But before that, I used to go quite frequently, okay? The good part about the buffet, in addition to, you know, all you can eat, is that it has a variety. So if you don't know what you want to eat, or you don't have a particular taste bud, or if you want to have something, a variety that you know you can't get all in one place that's not going to be too expensive, then you go to Golden Corral, okay? And so what this sentence is saying is that if you have ever seen, and you probably have, but if you go to the Golden Corral, okay, one of the good parts is that because it's all you can eat, you don't have to try to put every single thing that they have on one plate. Okay, so because you can go back, you know, you put a little bit on this plate, you have a seat, you sit down, you enjoy it. You go back for a second helping, you put something else on your plate, a little bit, you sit down. You can go back as many times as you like to feel your heart, okay? So how this compares to a sentence is a sentence starts between the capital letter and the period. So you don't have to put everything in between that capital letter and that period in order to make a sentence, okay? You can start another sentence and another sentence and another sentence and another sentence. So that's what that's what that comparison was for. That was funny. All right, here we go. Run-on sentences are 2 or more independent clauses written as though they are one sentence. The main cause of run-on sentences, like fragments, is faulty punctuation. So bad punctuation. End marks like periods, exclamation points, and question marks can make or break a sentence. For example, this run-on sentence is missing punctuation. Julie studies hard. She is trying to win a fellowship next year. Oh, my. And this is what I see, ladies and gentlemen, all the time in your writing. All the time. I want to hold that all for like 5 minutes just to express to you how you are now going to correct your run-on sentences, okay? So take a look at that. Julie studies hard. She is trying to win a fellowship next year. Well, the punctuation that is needed is Julie studies hard. End of sentence, period. That's one thought. Julie studies hard. Okay? And then the next thought is she is trying to win a fellowship next year. Fellowship is a grant. It's like a scholarship. It's very high esteemed, and it's a reward for hard work. Okay? So that is a run-on sentence, okay? Because it's running on and on and on instead of stopping like it should. The correct answer, Julie studies hard. She is trying to win a fellowship next year. Semicolons can also be used to revise run-on sentences. Where semicolons are high level, I don't usually teach them until my students have been writing well using just regular punctuation, okay? So we may or may not get to semicolons, okay? But for now, just disregard that. All right, another example. The soccer game ended at 4. It was too late to go to the birthday party, okay? So instead of separating that with a semicolon, we're just going to separate it with a period. The soccer game ended at 4, period. Then a new sentence, it was too late to go to the birthday party, okay? And you can hear these, okay? All of these, you can hear these, okay? You can hear the errors. That's my point, guys, okay? So read it out loud. Commas, when used with a conjunction, can transform run-on sentences. Yes. Commas, love the comma. Conjunctions come in 3 types. Coordinating, correlative, and subordinating. Coordinating conjunctions, and, but, or, nor, so, for, yet, can be used to correct run-on sentences. For example, Jillian lived in Portland. She lived in New York. Jillian lived in Portland, comma, and she lived in New York. Okay? That's a coordinating conjunction. Why? Because Portland and New York are coordinates. They both are the same type. Okay? They're both cities in the United States. Okay? Correlative conjunctions join similar kinds of items and are always used in pairs, okay? So I don't want to make this too much about, those academic terms, coordinating, correlative, and subordinating. So what you can do is pause the video and replay it and then reread it as well to understand it in more depth, okay? Which I highly encourage you to do so, especially my higher level students, please, okay? Understanding why, and don't be afraid to Google it. Google coordinating conjunctions. The site that you can use that is really, really, really great is, and I'm going to show this for everybody, and that is, it's YouTube. Of course, YouTube is my favorite tutorial place. It's where you found this video. Khan, Khan Academy. Okay, Khan Academy. They have over 100 videos, okay? And if you were to type in conjunctions, okay, they have a video for coordinating, subordinating, and correlative. Check it out. And they have a beginning, okay? They have parts of speech. This Khan Academy. Oh, don't get me started on Khan Academy. Run-on and comma splices, everything that we're talking about here, okay? Simple and compound sentences, an introduction, If you want to get better at grammar, speaking, and writing, Khan Academy. I used to assign it to my students in class, okay? I haven't done that lately, but it is an excellent, excellent resource. And the guy, David is his name.
Hey, grammarians. Today we're going to be talking about correlative conjunctions. And I know this looks like a pretty ugly word, correlative, like it's kind of complicated looking, but let's break it down. This co part comes from the Latin com, meaning with or together.
Co means with.
And relative, well, we know what the word relative is, like your aunt or your uncle or your cousin is a relative. So we're just going to say that just means relative or related.
Okay.
So correlative conjunction.
His name is David, and he's very, very engaging. And he breaks it down on a blackboard with examples, and he makes it very, very easy. So all of the grammar that I am discussing in this grammar book can be found on Khan Academy, okay? And that's what I'll start doing, is I'll start saying refer to Khan Academy, okay? So, but to get more understanding on conjunctions, okay, because it only helps your writing to understand grammar, okay? Because I have so many different levels in the classroom, it is hard to teach grammar because you have different people that have different needs. I have students that can't put a sentence together, all the way up to students that can and just need to fine tune and really understand the purpose of using conjunctions in order to make their writing better. So as you can see, that's a wide range. And then I have people in the middle that are like, what's a conjunction? So so refer to Khan Academy. Okay, let's keep going. All right, subordinating conjunctions join clauses with the rest of the sentences. Okay, so let's look at an example of that. So an example, Isabel sang, I played the music. Okay, when I played music, Isabel sang. So I would have rephrased it as Isabel sang while I played the music. That's the way I would have fixed it, okay? Isabel sang, or I would have twisted it around and said, I played the music while Isabel sang, okay? So what we're trying to say is subordinating, both of them are doing it at the same time, okay? While is a conjunction that says two things are happening at the same time, okay? See, you can get that. You can understand it. It's not difficult. It's just academic. All right, we're up to exercise 5, okay? Add in marks, commas. In marks are punctuation, okay? Commas, scratch the semicolons to fix the following sentences. So add either a period or a comma. Write the revised sentences on the lines below. Will you come to the party? We think you will have fun. Let's see. Will you come to the party? We think you will have fun. Okay, let's see. Will you come to the party? We know that's a question. Okay. Then we think you, no contractions, will have fun. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put an exclamation point there, because a party is not a party unless somebody's in a party. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so I changed the punctuation that I added was a question mark, and then I changed that period to show more expression by adding an exclamation point. Will you come to the party? We think you will have fun. Okay, will you come to the party? Oh, will you come to the party? We think you'll have fun. Definitely. Of course I will, if you put it that way. All right, so go ahead, ladies and gentlemen, or should I call you grammarians? That's what David calls his students. He calls them grammarians. Go ahead and finish. That's question 41 through 50, and I'll meet you back where it says sometimes. And we're back, so let's continue. All right, sometimes run-on sentences occur when writers use adverbs such as then, however, and therefore as if they were conjunctions. This type of error is easily fixed by using correct punctuation such as a semicolon, or by making two sentences out of one run-on. The writing takes the correct shape and form. So let's look at an example here, okay? I bought a new motorcycle. However, my license had expired. Okay? That's a run-on sentence because it doesn't have punctuation or a conjunction. Okay? I bought a new motorcycle. Okay? However, my license had expired. Okay? I bought a new motorcycle. We can put a semicolon there. Okay? I like to use a period, but we can, my higher level and advanced students, you can go ahead and experiment with semicolons. Okay? Because it takes your writing to the next level. I bought a new motorcycle. However, my license had expired. Okay? All right. So let's look at some more examples here. Maybe. I bought a new motorcycle, period. However, my license had expired. So we needed the punctuation of a period. So was that semicolon correct? Okay, so the semicolon or the period. So I take that back. Well, let's do it like this. If you feel you are advanced enough in your writings to experiment with semicolons, do that. If you do not, then go ahead and separate your sentences by periods for each complete thought, okay? Because that's what's important here, is understanding that each sentence is a complete thought, okay? You can't have more than one thought in a sentence unless you separate it by conjunctions, okay? And then if you do that, then it just becomes messy, okay? All right. So remember, reading it out loud, okay, will help you to hear that. All right, types of sentences very quickly. We're almost at the end, so hang in there, guys, okay? A simple sentence contains only one independent clause and is typically short. If you write with only simple sentences, your writing will not have the variety and complexity of good writing. As you learn, so that's for my beginners, okay? My beginners, all I want you to do is write in simple sentences, okay? Because you have to build up your vocabulary and your writing skills, okay? But remember, as you become better at reading and writing, then so do your sentence structure, okay? As you learn to vary your sentences by using compound, complex, and compound and complex sentences, you will find that you are able to express more complex relationship between ideas. A compound sentence contains more than one independent clause and no subordinate clauses. For example, the children could not finish the race. That's an independent clause, because if we added a period there, it would still be a sentence. However, but the adults could easily. Also an independent clause, okay? So if we put those two together, because they're pretty much the same thought, okay, then we make it a compound sentence, because a compound means two or more, two independent clauses. The children could not finish the race, but the adults could. That sentence sounds great. All right, so that's a compound sentence. Now, a complex sentence contains only one independent clause and at least one subordinate clause. All right, so let's look at this. An example, as soon as we sat at the table, that's a subordinate clause or a dependent clause. I don't know why they just didn't use dependent, meaning it can't stand alone by itself. Remember dependent clauses? The waiter brought menus, okay? We know that's independent because it has a subject and a predicate. So we can put those two together, okay, to make it a complex sentence. As soon as we sat at the table, the waiter brought us the menus, okay? So we can use a dependent clause with an independent clause, and that makes it a complex sentence, okay? Now, when I taught middle school, I used to give tests or used to give assignments where students had to write 10 compound sentences, 10 complex sentences, so that they can get used to writing these types of sentences, okay? That's a challenge, hint, hint. All right, let's move on. A compound complex sentence contains more than one independent clause and at least one subordinate clause. These are for my high-level students, okay? Let's look at the example. When Danny finally enrolled in college, that's a dependent or subordinate clause. He studied very hard. That's an independent clause. For he had missed the first 2 weeks of classes. He had missed the first 2 weeks of classes. That's also independent. So it's compound because it has two independent clauses, and it's complex because it also has a dependent clause. So when Danny finally enrolled in college, he studied very hard, for he had missed the first 2 weeks of classes. Okay? And some of my students fit into that, okay? Some of my students had to work hard. Marianne, for one. I don't know why you're on my mind, Marianne, but Marianne didn't start at the beginning of the year, and she's been studying very hard to make up for that lost time that she wasn't here. Rock on, Marianne. All right, continue reading with me. Remember, compound, complex, and compound complex sentences add depth to your writing, but they need to be punctuated correctly or they become run-on sentences. If you use only simple sentences, your writing sounds very choppy. Simple sentences are short. They say one thing. They don't give much details. They don't flow. So he's giving you examples of simple sentences, okay? They say one thing. That's a simple sentence. They do not give much detail. That's a simple sentence. They do not flow. That's a simple sentence. So if you had an essay of just simple sentences like that, that's the way it would sound. A good piece of writing uses both short and long sentences for variety. When you write, alternating the length of sentences is a good idea, as long as the short sentences are not fragments and the long sentences are not run-ons. All right, last activity for this lesson. Exercise 6, fix the following sentence fragments and run-on sentences by adding a conjunction and any necessary punctuation. Okay. Write the revised sentences on the line below. I wanted to buy a bicycle. My paycheck was not enough. All right, that's simple. Take away that period and add a but. I wanted to buy a bicycle, but my paycheck was not enough. Oh, been there. Okay. Anybody work and still didn't have enough money to do what you wanted to do? That's why we need careers, ladies and gentlemen, and not just jobs. I wanted to buy a bicycle, but my paycheck was not enough. Okay. So fix these sentences. Okay. And when you get here, you can exhale. All right. I'm going to go ahead and summarize. So you can pause the video now and then come back for the summary. Okay. So we are at the end of lesson number 2. Awesome, guys. Okay. So let's go ahead and summarize and review what we've learned. Okay. Read with me here. Knowing the parts of a sentence and the kinds of sentences that are a good part of writing will help you proofread, revise, and edit your work. As you examine your own writing, mark the places where bad punctuation has created sentence fragments or run-on sentences. Revise them by using proper punctuation, semicolons, and or conjunctions. Okay, so let's go back. We've learned about fragmented sentences, those sentences that are bad because of the independent or dependent clause. We also learned about run-on sentences, those sentences that just keep going on and on and on that don't have punctuation like they need to, okay? We also learned about conjunctions, subordinating, correlative, and coordinating. And I refer you to Khan Academy in YouTube to look up and get more understanding of those 3 types of conjunctions. Okay. We also, from the first video series, no, I think it was from this one. Yes, at the very beginning, we talked about the 2 parts of a sentence, which is the subject and the predicate. Wow, why does that feel like days ago? It was just a little while ago. The subject and the predicate in a sentence, okay? So all sentences need a subject and a predicate, and you want to practice as you read to identify what is the action, what is the predicate, who's receiving the object, what is an object, what is an indirect object, okay? So these things you do through practice, okay? Practice, practice, practice. Let me see in Espanol. Practice. Yes, practica, practica, practica. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that ends this lesson. Okay, stay tuned for the next one. You did wonderful, and talk to you soon. Bye.